oh, after you graduate, let's have the best
Right.
job ever, that
Right.
kind of stuff. Also, I read your article, like the 7 greatest European road trips. Like, are there perks like that that you found kind of being 10 years out already and having all that grounding that's kind of made it like, wow, this is so worth it and everything builds on itself for a reason?
Yeah, I mean, like one of the things that, and especially in magazines, this is sort of a cynical statement, but like it's not necessarily that the people like at the top are the best that ever were. They were the ones that lasted. You know, like you have to decide like you're gonna stick it out. You know, like through maybe those harder years, and then it's not that it gets. In fact, it's getting a little more challenging just given all the changes to the industry. But for a while there, it was sort of like if you rise up enough, now you're in a more comfortable position, whatever. The thing that, just thinking about a couple interesting things on the sort of careerism that you're describing, I remember it super acutely. Like having even that internship at Slate after I graduated, like took so much pressure off the last 3 months of my senior year where you just have to answer that question all the time. And it's a really frustrating thing for all of you because it's pretty meaningless, but also everybody, I am the only one who stayed in my job this long. Like everybody else who had all the banking and consulting jobs and everything, lasted a year and a half or 9 months or whatever, and it was all sort of for naught, and some people, it's not that it's bad, like it sets them up for their next job, but it is funny how permanent it feels and how important it feels right in that moment. I'm not saying like, don't line up anything. It's like, but just sort of like these things are going to be all over the place for a long time. And one benefit of just like knowing that it doesn't have to be exactly right away is, unlike 20 years ago, if you were in that position, you could go write for a small paper or a city regional paper or whatever and practice and do a lot of stuff. Like you actually don't have that luxury now because everything you write will be on the internet, and therefore it's not like somebody's going to hold it against you, but like I found that it's easier to like reach too high and fall and like kind of burn yourself than it is to like, nobody's like, oh, that was from your first couple of years and you're writing just kind of, pieces. But if you like are like, I demand to write a feature story and before you're ready or whatever, like it's a harder thing. I know at HQ it's like, I try to protect, as I come up, people my age, in the sense that like I know that if they blow it, like they're not getting another chance, and that's an important thing. It's sort of like making sure you're really thinking about like, yes, take chances, yes, go for big jobs, all that sort of stuff. Make a voice for yourself if that's your personality, but don't if it's not, like don't just become like a hot take factory because like that's what you think you're supposed to do. It's like follow what's naturally your disposition, naturally your interest. I think that's what's going to lead you into the best stuff. Maybe you are also a biology major and you don't see how that coincides with any of the celebrity, journalism, whatever, but like you continue to nurture that and then suddenly you find a weird niche where you're, that sort of expertise is really interesting to a given magazine. Oh, weird, Smithsonian Magazine just got, $1 million extra for these sorts of enterprises, whatever it is. It's just like, don't run away from that stuff. And again, remember that it's sort of like, it evolves up. And that's sort of where I used to say, or think about that and be like, no, I mean like, it's hard to come back into a magazine like, the further away from graduation you get to like, get that editorial assistant job. I don't think people really want that editorial assistant job anymore. It's more like, if you want to be a writer, I mean. And so it is about just like setting yourself up with a job that you are like comfortable with and can live with and are happy with. And I find that there ended up being like hundreds and thousands more of those than I was aware of, when I was here in terms of, I think that it's probably easier to be aware of them now, but those sorts of things, just so that you can then, from that perch, make sort of more reasonable decisions about your writing, and which is not to say like, if you don't do it for 7 years, like you're going to suddenly emerge after 7 years and be like, great, like you still have to be practicing in some way, and maybe that's, surrounding yourself with a community of other writers who are in your position, which are, you can find, and swapping manuscripts, or there are still a number of journals in New York, smaller ones that are sort of more literary, intellectual journals, mostly run by young people. They turn over like N+1, Triple Canopy, and New Inquiry and stuff like that. And so, again, there's a way to like surround yourself with that, learn from what other people are doing, hear what they're doing, find like-minded people like that without like totally burning it all down by getting a little down on yourself.